Hi! So if you have clicked on this video, then you must be a student who makes a lot of notes out of your books and you want to know how to make the shortest possible notes out of them, which will help you to study further during your exams. And in today's video, I will be telling you the whole process of how to make short notes which are accurate, which contains all the information, and how they can help you to memorize the things. So let us begin with the video. I have divided this video into two parts. The first one is where we will be knowing the process of how to make notes, and second one is where I will tell you 5 key points which you need to make sure while making your own notes. So firstly, let us begin with the process from starting till the end of making the perfect short notes. So the first step is to take an A4 size sheet. You can take rule sheets or any which you prefer. For me, I prefer plain sheets. So firstly, what you have to do is just fold them into two halves so that you get two parts in your sheet and you will divide your topics in this way. Now the second thing is you have to set a target for yourself. For example, when I make my short notes, if I have 4 units, I will have a target of making short notes of 4 pages for those 4 units. So this is my target. You firstly need to set a target for yourself, then how many pages you want to complete making those short notes. Now third step is that you will be making sections for every topic. For example, you are studying chapter cell, and firstly you have to write about discovery of cell. Then you will make a section which will cover all the content related to the discovery of the cell. So that is called a section. Okay? Now the next thing is what you have to include in a section. So in a section of that page, you will be including the topic about which you are writing, a very small definition for the topic if needed, in a very concise way, in very small amount of words. You do not have to write a complete definition. You just have to write the keywords which simply explain what that term actually means. Another thing can be if there are any examples related to it or some important points, the key points which you need to remember regarding a topic, those you will be writing in that section. The next thing which I want you guys to learn is to make flowcharts. Now for example, sometimes there are topics which have so many subtopics. We can take the example of kingdom. Now if you have to classify a kingdom into kingdom Plante, kingdom Animalia, then there are further classifications of those kingdoms as well. For these kind of topics, what you have to do is that make flowcharts. Making a flowchart simply means that you will write the topic, all the subtopics in this format, and you have to make sure one thing, that you are not supposed to explain those subtopics. In case there is any important term related to them, any important point you need to remember, you just write them. You just write those points in a bracket along with the terms, or make an arrow and write those important terms, those important topics along with term. And if you have to mention some examples, then you just write examples in the bracket along with the topic, subtopics, whatever you have written there. So making flowcharts for classification kind of things is very important and very easier way to memorize all the headings. Now for revision, you do not need to have those definitions and examples and everything, but you just need to remember the classification exactly. When you will remember what subtopics are included in a topic, then you will automatically remember the definition it has or some key points. I'm telling you, you have to mention the key points and examples in those classification flowcharts, but do not write so many theory in that. Now another thing is when you have to study some topics which you have to comparative analysis of some topics, when you have to differentiate. For example, you have to differentiate in kingdom Plante and kingdom Animalia. So what you have to do is that make a small table in your short notes which has a column of the aspect based on which you are differentiating the two things, and then you have Plante and Animalia, and you do not have to write again long sentences there. You just have to write keywords so that you remember what you are going to how you're going to differentiate them. For example, in the aspect column, you can write cell wall, and in Plante you will write present, and in Animalia you will write absent. So this is the way of how you have to make comparative tables in your short notes. Now next thing is when you have to write the processes. What I mean by processes is maybe in biology you would have to write the process of breathing, process of digestion, process of excretion. For such things, do not go for the theory portion. What you have to do is make the diagram, because for such kind of topics you have to make diagrams in your exams as well. So make a nice diagram in your short notes and try to explain the process, the steps in that diagram only. वहीं पे you just have to mark that this is step 1, it occurs here and what happens here, and that is how you will get two things in just one place, that is the diagram and the process and the steps which how it occurs. So for processes, go for diagrams, do not go for very long steps when you're making your short notes, because the steps are already written in your book and your detailed notes. You can study them from there. In short notes, you just need to remember which comes first and which comes next. For that, diagram is a visual way of understanding that and remembering that. Now last thing is to write the important terms, some highlighted words, some keywords, or some terms which you keep forgetting. Now how you can write them is either use a sticky note or use different colored pens, or you can use what I do is a method of writing those terms in a box. I just make a rectangular box and write the whatever feature, whatever thing is that something that is important and that I keep forgetting. I just write it in a rectangular box. Now what is the purpose of doing this thing is that whenever you open your short notes, your first sight goes on those terms, and when you keep watching them again and again, then that is how you will memorize them and remember them in your exams. So this was the whole process how you can make your own short notes. Now I want to tell you 5 things which you need to make sure while making the notes. The process is done. Now 5 main things. The first one is that you have to use minimum pages. Try to use minimum space, minimum pages. Now why? Because you already have your detailed notes, which is this much, but you have to make short notes which should be this much. So do not write too much in there and try to use small number of pages, because जब कम pages होंगे ना आपके पास, then you will sit and read them again and again. You will not feel like, oh my god, I have to read so many pages, I have to revise so many pages. Now second thing is write small. Do not write large letters, because that will take of course more space. So write small, but इतना भी छोटा नहीं कि आपको दिखे नहीं. So you should write small, but it should be visible to you. Now third thing is do not write too much explanation. You do not need to explain the things in your short notes, because you already have your books, you have your detailed notes for that purpose. You just need to write the keywords which you might forget in the exam, so that you can revise them again and again. The fourth one is that try to write the key points. Key points are the ones which are very important to be mentioned whenever you are writing in your exam regarding that topic, and the points which you might forget again and again. So write only key points in your short notes. Do not write whole kahani. So just stick to the key points. Fifth one is most important, that try to write less text or less theory in your short notes, but more of visually appealing things. Now what does visually appealing things include is diagrams, flowcharts, tables. Try to include these things in your short notes, because when you study these things, when you see these things again and again, they get fixed in your memory. So जब आप exam में बैठे होगे ना, then you will be able to recall that in that corner of the page I had made the diagram, and that diagram उसमें ना ऐसे करके मैंने लिखा था कुछ तो important, and that is what I have to write in my exam right now. This is how our memory works. जब आप किसी चीज़ को देखते हो ना, you tend to remember that more than reading something or than just writing or reading the theory portion. So try to make more of diagrams, try to make more of tables, flowcharts. Okay, that is how you will be able to recall them in your exam. So this was the whole process and all the key points I want to tell you for how you should start making short notes. If you haven't made any short notes till now, then after watching this video, I want you to just go and give it a try. कोई भी chapter complete हो चुका है, just try to make the short notes out of that. Try writing the important terms, important diagrams and everything as I have told you, and make your own short notes. Short notes actually are very helpful when you are revising the things before your exam, before your test, and it helps you to retain the things, retain the topics in your memory. So that's it for today. I hope you liked the video, and subscribe the channel and tell me in comments what else you want me to teach you about. And that's it for today. See you in the next video. Bye bye.